Thank you so much for spending some time with me this morning. Can you start by telling us who you are and what you do at Sherloc?
Yes, I am head of product strategy at Sherloc, and I essentially look after the user experience and also the overall strategy of where the product's going, how we can implement new technologies, and how we can best suit the needs and find the needs of the customer.
Thank you so much. So I'd like to understand a bit more about you and how, things work, how you make things work at Sherloc. So what's your background and how did you end up leading AI integration and strategy at Sherloc?
Okay, so I'll give you a whistle-stop tour. Basically, I was a full-time artist for a number of years, and I realized that actually I need to work with other people to get things going. I actually designed my own website to be able to sell my paintings, and it was then that I went on to work with companies like BMW and Mini and doing their websites. And clearly, I kind of went into digital design. So quite a few years later, I ended up being head of design at Barclays, and we delivered their primary applications on mobile. They were a big success. And I went on then after that to consult for lots of different investment banks, predominantly in the financial sector, like some business to business and user-centric applications. Doing all sorts of stuff and basically cutting my teeth throughout the years on UX process when it comes to research. So I really like doing interviews with people, understanding user needs, and then doing a translation of those user needs into functions and functionality that is going to basically give and add value to their lives. Obviously, in the banking sector, like retail banking, for example, that was really fun because of all of the different types of people that you end up meeting and the way that they handle their finances. So when it comes to joining Sherloc, it seemed like a natural kind of fit with respect to understanding business needs and especially kind of with the financial aspect, but then also with the adapting market of AI and the way that things are shifting and changing. I think it seems pretty clear the direction of travel, and that we need to embrace this new technology and implement it into the system. And actually, I can't imagine how we would do half of the things that we want to achieve for our customers without the use of AI. So that's kind of how I find myself where I am today.
That's absolutely incredible. I had zero idea you were an artist, and
Yeah.
I love the fact that you morphed, slowly your like creativity into software as a service. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
whoa. Okay. And okay, when we talk about you, head of product strategy, what does that mean in the context of an AI-powered software as a service like Sherloc? Like concretely, you talked about understanding user experience and so on. Now you're leading on AI, which is not a small feat. So how do you work? How do you work with the rest of the team, and how do you keep marrying like the strategic, the operational, the tactical?
Yes. So kind of it stems back from a time when I worked on a SaaS product before for a company called Prequin, which was a pretty dry topic. It was what was it again? It was investment. Let me think. It was like investment banks basically hold a lot of data, right? And that data is really valuable to other people. And because it's freely available, basically in the alternative assets area, that data is very valuable. And if you call these companies, you can get that data for free. And then we basically package that data up in a consumable way for the users. And that company, I don't want to take entire credit for it, but basically it went from making 5 million a year to, after we delivered the product, 90 million a year, and then just recently sold to Bloomberg for 3.5 billion. So They owe me something. But anyway, with that kind of in the background, I saw the opportunity with Sherlock to be really heavily involved in the full kind of process when it comes to talking to customers, understanding their needs and requirements, and then doing a translation of those into a consumable, user-friendly way, hopefully, and basically making their like to empower them as a business. So when it comes to working with the team, communication is absolutely key across the board. So from the top down, talking to Karen, our CEO, and understanding her perspectives and what she wants to accomplish and what she wants to achieve, and her perspectives on what the customer wants to achieve as well. This is really paramount to do a translation of that and incorporate new technologies in order to facilitate that. So with AI being a very hot button topic right now, I didn't want to implement it and just slap AI on there and say, hey, it's powered by AI. Look at us, we're part of the AI revolution. It's like, how can we actually tangibly implement this in almost in an invisible way, almost like the way that Apple does it? Because Apple has a lot of AI and machine learning systems in place, but they don't really shout about it. So, but what it does, it facilitates a really easy to use platform and platforms. And that's kind of what I want to do with Sherlock, like basically have it powered by AI, but essentially that's not the main aspect. The main aspect is that it's fulfilling the needs of the users. So when it comes to setting that vision, talk. We've got to talk to people, tell people what the vision is, make sure that it's an agreed vision. I come up with an idea and a strategy, and then I like to get hands-on when it comes to the translation of that into the actual user experience of the platform. Like how are we going to achieve those goals, and for ourselves and for the users equally, and create that user experience that makes it seamless so that we benefit also from the user's interaction. But yeah, being able to be hands-on and actually work with the design team as well, really important and paramount that we're all on the same page.
Okay, thank you, because you're sharing really the way you take it. But for someone who needs a bit of like more understanding, how would you define your approach to AI? Would you say you're more product-led, technology-led, or strategy-led?
So I did a lot of, well, I continue to do. I mean, it's one of those topics that you have to kind of stay on like a hot button topic. You need to understand where things are going constantly, and then looking at opportunities of how we might be able to utilize it and implement it into the systems. So understanding what people are doing out there. I follow a lot of AI researchers because they're the people that are basically understanding these systems the best and getting the best out of them. And therefore, once I've taken that kind of information and that research, I go, okay, how can we apply that to what we're working on and the systems? And how can we prepare for the inevitable future? I see a lot of people, there's a lot of what they call doomers out there with respect to AI, and that it's going to take our jobs and it's going to, wipe us all out and what have you, not in a Terminator way, but just like make us redundant as a human race. But so it's like, okay, how can we actually utilize this technology in the most effective manner? And the most effective manner for us is that we become essentially the prompt engineers on behalf of the user, that we're the ones asking the relevant and right questions for and on behalf of them. So that we we facilitate a system that becomes the expert, an agent for the user. They could theoretically go directly to AI themselves for bits and pieces, but it would take them a long time to be able to ask all the relevant questions, all the right things, and hopefully delight them on the platform. So the aspiration is that they will come to the platform and not have even thought of a question to ask AI, but then being able to see the results, some type of radical insight or information that they wouldn't have even thought to ask. That's the kind of hope and aspiration, is that they are delighted to use the service.
I like that, and I think this delightful experience is so telling, you know, it really sparks an emotion in me when you say that. So you talked about the doomers, and I know we're veering a little bit from our core topic, but I would love you to tell me what are, according to you, the biggest misconceptions people have about AI in business today?
Oh, this is very well. It's a couple of things like, and this isn't necessarily doomerish. So basically, I think what happened with the ChatGPT moment, a lot of people immediately went to kind of doomsday scenarios, like how we're going to utilize this, and they knee-jerk reacted in many aspects. Like people created, I'll give you an example. Can't remember the name of the company actually now, but and this has happened on many companies. Basically, they implement AI to replace, for example, a call center. So they'll have AI being the people that do the customer management, even conducting interviews. You know, it's like the AI is conducting interviews and it breaks completely. There has been far too much trust put in as a knee-jerk reaction into AI systems as being able to be it does everything magically all the time everywhere. But it's not quite there yet when it comes to being able to solve everything. So a lot of businesses, I think it was only 17% of businesses that have instituted AI like as a replacement of people have actually been successful. So 17%. So that makes a large percentage of companies have not been successful and have had to go back to hiring people in order to get the systems back up and running because they trusted it far too much. So obviously it has had an initial negative impact on people's jobs, but I think when it comes to like in future, I think about my wife in this case. So she's a graphic designer, and there's lots of talk about graphic designers being replaced by AI. But in reality, you still need somebody to be prompting the AI to be able to validate what AI outputs, and there needs to be a level of expertise behind that as to be able to validate what it's saying. We can't just take what it says verbatim. And that's currently at the moment. Obviously, the aspiration is that within a few years, it will be smarter than any human and it will be able to complete the tasks. But I think we're going to move towards a intention or ideology, like ideation kind of society where whatever we can imagine, it will be able to facilitate, but we're just not there yet.
Okay, good. So we've got time to see it coming.
Got some time, yeah.
You used the term, which I think is key when it comes to our business model. You use the term trust. Obviously, at Sherloc, you know, we're gathering historical financial data and as well as business models and non-financial data plus market data and projecting that in the future. And we sort of deliver actionable insights for our users, and which means they rely on our expertise, they trust us with what we tell them. So as long as it's us, it's easy. But when we integrate AI, how do you ensure that AI still support the trust and the transparency that our users need when it comes to Sherloc?
So the way that I look at it is that let's use trading economics as an example, right? It was the case with Preqin as well, where basically there are a bunch of analysts inside these firms that create the metrics for future forecasting, right? So they will collect data, analyze it, and then put forward projections, right? And over time, these firms build up trust because essentially it's not that they're right all the time, but it's that they're updating constantly their insights and knowledge and being able to create those forecasts for their user base. But it's a bit of a black box, much like AI, right? No one really knows or understands how AI actually works. It is a black box that we throw things into. But what it does very effectively, much like a web crawler, it goes across the internet, it essentially downloads the entire internet and then analyzes the patterns within it. So when it comes to the building of trust, it's still based on essentially piggybacking off of other firms that have trust. So let's say, for example, Bloomberg or the Bank of England. These are established companies or institutions that people know and trust already. So when AI is making calls to those particular firms and showing their information on our platform, and then we're collating and aggregating all of those bits and pieces of information, and we can show all the sources, that the source isn't AI and it's not just hallucinations, but actually tangible sources from actual firms that people are familiar with. So still building off the back of trust that is established with them, but then we're collecting all of that information together through the use of AI. And AI is very good at collecting that information because it's not having to imagine anything. It can literally go to the source and pull it off their web page. So it's actually quite an easy task for AI to do. So when it comes to us building trust, because we're showing that it's connected to sources that they can actually go and check, they can go through to their websites and look at those web pages and recognize that the figures on our site are correct, then that will build the trust, definitely.
Okay, gotcha. Coming back to this, like, AI, reliable sources, and us ensuring we've set up, a checked and safe process whereby the information we pump is trusted and expert. How do you balance automation with human control, especially in financial forecasting and scenario planning?
That's a good question.
That's a
So
tough one, right?
yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah, because basically what we're doing, we're kind of moving in from that old world of complete humans in the loop. We're creating AI agents ourselves that do reinforced learning and understand each other, so double check each other. So for example, let's say Grok goes and finds the piece of information, then we have a system that has ChatGPT double check that, and then we have Claude double check it as well. And it goes through these double checks of data, making sure that it's correct and analyzed by multiple AI. And that's the great thing that we've actually got access to. We don't have just access to one AI system. And these systems, we can't even compete with them. They are building humongous data centers that are incredibly powerful. So why not tap into all of them and have them double check each other to make sure that they're validated and correct? I think right now there's always going to have to be a human in the loop. And if that human is us, or even potentially our customers, if our customers recognize that there's going to be information that's incorrect, they can also inform us as well. So yeah, I think there's always kind of checks and balances. It's not something we can just hand over to the AI and it's going to take care of it. We've got the systems from the AI checking itself, but then also there's always going to be that human validation at the end of the chain.
Okay. Thank you for that. I think it's you made it understandable, which I really appreciate.
Okay,
It's like
good.
if I can understand it, everybody can. So it's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. We talk a little bit about the future of AI in Sherlock? So stay on the vulgarized way of formulating this, because I know this is a conversation I've had many times with you, and sometimes I get lost. So tell me, what's coming up next? How will AI evolve within Sherlock in the next 6 to 12 months?
So it's about building out functionalities, challenging the way and processes that things have been done in the past. So a lot of functionalities have been, I guess, human led. Maybe there's an expert that creates a system. Yeah, that's essentially the way that it's always been. Now, looking at the implementation of AI, it's okay, how can we potentially utilize the power of AI to facilitate the same functionality, whether that's data gathering or data analysis, or the types of insights that it will pump out. So if we're making hints or kind of directive suggestions to the user about how they might respond to a market condition, we have to kind of validate whether AI actually is able to give the right kind of suggestions. Like I said, there's always going to have to be that human in the loop aspect. But I'm not sure that answers your question entirely, but can you just
It does.
repeat it again a little bit?
Yeah, how will AI evolve within Sherlock within the next
Oh,
6 to
yeah,
12 months?
sorry, yeah. Oh, yeah, that part I forgot. So I was talking about more today, where we're doing the collection of data, data analysis, and given insights for the user. But in future, as it adapts and becomes even more sophisticated, we move towards a more agentic future.
Mm.
So what that means is that essentially when we identify a task that a user needs to carry out, maybe in the real world, maybe they need to pick up the phone to somebody, maybe they need to apply for a loan, for example, eventually we'll get to the point where AI is basically going to be able to facilitate all of those processes without the user's intervention. So what that means is we can spell out what the AI is going to perform on behalf of the user, and all they will need to do is press the button execute. Yes, as what's his name, Captain Picard always said, go forward kind of thing. So yeah, essentially it will get to the point where the system will be able to carry out tasks on behalf of the user, and all they'll need to do is approve. And it will be kind of a no-brainer because it will be the most effective way to carry things out as well. And we'll also assist with supply chain, any hindrances, any problems when it comes to supply chain and manufacture, etc. We'll be able to identify other routes in which the users will be able to fulfill the nature of their business. So whether that's an acquisition of materials, we can identify where they might go to get other things, and not necessarily for the benefit of us. It's definitely for the benefit of the user. Like, will they be able to facilitate their business? If there's an earthquake in a region where they get their supplies, who else are they going to go to? We'll be able to make those kind of suggestions on behalf of the user as well. So yeah, and also be able to facilitate the connection between the user and their business and the other businesses that they need to connect to. So yeah, the aspiration is very large when it comes to essentially making those connections for the user.
Thank you so much. And I like the fact we're going to integrate real-time data, macroeconomics, supply chain, everything you're saying, geopolitical, and use AI to actually help our user act as soon as the information is available. So
yeah.
I've got a last question for you, because I like to systemize things. Like when I teach supply chain, I always like to say you've got three types of data, right? You've got historical data, which is more informational than anything. And it's like, looking back in your rearview mirror. You have predictive data, which is looking forward and saying like, this is how we think things are going to evolve, but the user, is left to their own device. Then we have prescriptive data, which is, okay, this is what's going to happen. We suggest you do this, this, and that. Do you think that agentic data is a term we could coin? Because the way you talk about, creating agents for users seems that, it's more than prescriptive. It's a prescription and an action. Like, does my assessment sound right to you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously there's going to have to be, I mean, the legal system is having to respond massively to AI, and when it comes to the disclaimers that we're going to have to think about, ultimately there's no solid truth for the future. We as I think as a Western society in particular, we love to try to predict the future. We want certainty, right? So when it comes to these systems, we are looking to them as a bit of a prophet. We want the systems to tell us what the future has to hold. If I do X, then I should expect Y. I do believe it's something that gets us closer to that truly predictive model, and also shows then, okay, if you carry out these several tasks, you are very highly likely, based on lots of examples of success, you're going to go and find success if you carry out the same kind of activities. So I think we are moving a lot closer to that future. But I mean, as with all things, there's no entire certainty with the future.
Yeah. Okay, I like that. Thank you. And I like the fact that, your analysis ties back to your very own creative spirit, about you seem to be quite comfortable with uncertainty, which is really, really interesting.
Oh yeah, that's something that's really important that we need to always consider, is because of uncertainty, it comes down to an attitude like, will everything be okay? Yes, it will, and we're going to figure out the route to get there.
I like that. Any parting words for our audience?
So I like what the CEO of NVIDIA said with respect to AI. Obviously, he's very much in the heart of it, creating the machines that actually run the stuff, right? So he's very, very close to AI and its potential impacts on society. But one thing that he said is that AI won't take your jobs, but you will lose your job to someone that uses AI. So I think in not utilizing this radical tool that we've all got access to, that would be the mistake. I think we need to embrace it, and we need to think about in ways in which we can implement it. Really quickly, I remember the days before Photoshop. This is going back a bit. The days before Photoshop, graphic designers were a completely different sphere, but then it changed and pivoted towards having this really radically amazing tool that they could utilize. And some people were left in the background and some people embraced it. And those who embraced it were the ones that had the jobs. So it's really important. And this isn't just a Photoshop. This is a tool that actually impacts everyone's job. This is a tool that if you utilize it and embrace it, you're going to be part of the future, essentially.
Love it. Thank you so much, Aaron.
No worries.